Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak to you facing is same truths, sharing the same questions, facing the same questions, facing the same struggle, sharing the same questions, facing the same Christians. And we often ask, what drives people to be kind, to love, to sacrifice? Many say it's faith in a God, in a paradise, in a heaven awaiting them at the end of a righteous path. But let me ask you this. What if there is no God? What if there is no paradise? What if there is no heaven waiting beyond this life? Throughout history, humanity has often turned to religion as the foundation for moral behavior, using divine laws, sacred texts, and the fear of punishment or hope of reward to guide actions. But the truth is that morality does not exclusively belong to religion. Even in the absence of a higher power or a prescribed set of spiritual doctrines, people are capable of living ethical, compassionate, and just lives. This realization is not only liberating but deeply empowering. It affirms that human beings possess an innate capacity for empathy, fairness, and conscience. Children understand the pain of others even before they learn about heaven or hell. Strangers step in to help one another in times of crisis, not because they fear divine wrath, but because something within them naturally responds to suffering and injustice. Entire societies have created laws, customs, and ethical systems based on collective reasoning and mutual respect rather than spiritual decree. To say that morality only comes from belief in a God is to diminish the profound strength of the human spirit. When we strip away the fear of judgment and the promise of reward, we uncover a more authentic form of morality, one driven not by obligation but by the desire to do what is right. This deeper, self-sustained morality proves that even in a godless world, there is still light, compassion, and responsibility born from within ourselves. There is something profoundly noble about doing good simply because it is the right thing to do, not because it will be rewarded or recognized. Intrinsic goodness, the kind that stems from one's internal values and sense of empathy, is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. When someone helps a stranger without expecting gratitude, when someone helps a betrayal not to earn praise but to find peace, that is intrinsic morality at its highest. It suggests a deeper understanding of the human condition. It is not dictated by doctrine or external validation. People often associate morality with surveillance, divine or societal. But what about those quiet, unseen acts of kindness? They matter precisely because they are not performed for show. This kind of goodness doesn't rely on fear or punishment or hope for paradise. It arises from the realization that we are all part of a shared existence, that causing less harm and spreading more compassion makes the world better for everyone. Intrinsic goodness asks, what kind of person do I want to be in the dark when no one is watching? That question defines character more than any scripture or commandment. It is in these moments, unseen, uncelebrated, unrewarded, that we reveal the truest essence of who we are. Intrinsic goodness is not about achieving sainthood or moral perfection. It is about consistently choosing kindness, even when it's inconvenient, being honest when it would be easier to lie, and standing up for others even when it costs us something. Such goodness, born from within and untouched by ego, is proof that human beings are capable of rising above self-interest, not for the sake of an afterlife, but for the sake of conscience and love alone. For centuries, people have turned to religion to understand their purpose, seeking answers in sacred texts, prophets, and the will of a higher being. But when we remove the concept of divine assignment, when we accept the possibility that no pre-subment plan or spiritual map exists, what remains is not emptiness, but opportunity. The absence of a divine script does not render life meaningless. Rather, it places the power of meaning-seeking directly into our hands. It challenges us to ask the deeper questions. What matters to me? What kind of life do I want to live? What legacy do I want to leave behind? When we are no longer bound to follow a path laid out by a deity, we become the authors of our narrative. Our passions, our dreams, our struggles, all become the raw materials through which we shape a life that reflects our truest self. This is not a burden, it is a profound freedom. It means that love, art, knowledge, relationships, service and creativity are not simply side quests to some higher spiritual calling. They are the calling. The artist who finds transcendence in color, the teacher who finds purpose in nurturing minds, the parent who discovers meaning in raising a child. These are not lesser pursuits in a godless world, but sacred acts of human purpose. In fact, when meaning is not handed down, but self-constructed, it becomes more authentic, more personal, and more deeply fulfilling. It is not lived for reward, but for connection, impact, and truth. When you understand that our lives are not rehearsals for an eternal afterlife, but the full performance itself, we begin to craft meaning from the moments we often take for granted. When people realize that there may be no divine judge monitoring their every move, it can be a terrifying thought at first, but it also unlocks a new form of freedom, one rooted in deep accountability. Without the assurance of a cosmic referee to reward or punish, we are left entirely with ourselves, our choices, our consequences, our truths. And this is where real empowerment begins. True responsibility emerges not from being told what to do, but from choosing what to do and owning that choice. When we take full responsibility for our lives, we no longer blame fate, God, or destiny for our circumstances. We begin to act, to change, to create. Accountability becomes the tool through which we shape our identity, our relationships, and our future. It's in this radical ownership of one's life that personal strength is born, not from praying for intervention, but from becoming the intervention. This shift does not mean life becomes easy. It means we stop waiting to be saved and start saving ourselves. In the absence of divine surveillance, we discover the courage to face our flaws, the humility to admit our wrongs, and the strength to rise from them. We begin to make decisions based on the impact they have on real people in the real world, not based on fear of invisible punishment. This kind of responsibility is not cold or mechanical. It is deeply human. It teaches us that our choices matter profoundly, not just to us, but to everyone we affect. And in learning that, we don't lose hope, we gain control. We begin to understand that the power to create change, to live honorably, and to bring goodness into the world lies not in the hands of the heavens, but in the decisions we make every single day. When the comforting idea of an afterlife is stripped away, when the promise of eternal bliss or reunion in a heavenly paradise is no longer assumed, what remains is the raw, unfiltered truth of our temporary existence. And in that truth lies an even greater beauty. If there is no second chance beyond this life, then every second in this life becomes infinitely more valuable. The fleeting nature of our days, our relationships, and our experiences forces us to live more fully, to be present in the now, instead of waiting for something beyond the horizon. The love we share, the dreams we chase, the sunsets we witness, and the simple joys we often take for granted suddenly gain new meaning. They are no longer stepping stones to a greater reward. They are the reward. When we stop believing that there is an endless stretch of time awaiting us beyond death, we begin to cherish the moment we have right now, this breath, this heartbeat, this connection. Loss becomes more profound, but so does gratitude. Pain becomes more real, but so does joy. We no longer live with the illusion that everything will be made perfect in another realm. Instead, we strive to make things beautiful, just, and fulfilling in this one. That urgency to live with intention, to reconcile quickly, to love fiercely, and to find purpose in our limited days gives rise to a more authentic existence. It awakens us to the fragile miracle of being alive and stirs within us a sense of awe, not in the promise of what comes next, but in the wonder of what is happening now. Without the safety net of eternity, this life becomes our only canvas. And every choice, every action, every moment becomes a stroke in the masterpiece we are painting with our time on earth. The concept of heaven has long inspired visions of eternal peace, unity, and bliss. A place where pain is gone, injustice is corrected, and love flows freely. But what if that idea is not meant to be something we await after death, but something we are called to create while we live? If we no longer believe that a perfect realm lies beyond this life, then we begin to see the urgency of making this world better, kinder, more humane. Heaven becomes less of a destination and more of a responsibility. It's not built through grand gestures alone, but through the quiet, consistent efforts of people who refuse to accept cruelty and division as the norm. The idea that we must wait for death to experience peace robs us of the potential to transform the living. Seen in the classroom, where a nurse offers comfort to experience peace, listen, family. Ignorance, pollutants, roots everything. Unus region is a seal of enrichment and blessed in the treasury. Isha, as we are the architects of this earthly paradise, and the tools we use, kindness, justice, cooperation are within everyone's reach. It is not divine intervention that brings peace to the world. It is people choosing every day to be better, to do better, and to live with a sense of shared humanity. Heaven is not above us. It is within us and between us, waiting to be realized through how we treat one another and how we shape the world we share. The human desire for immortality is as old as time, a longing to live forever, to escape the finality of death, to find comfort in the belief that life continues beyond the grave. But in the absence of an afterlife, a deeper truth emerges, that true immortality is not about endless existence, but about the impact we leave behind. Our names may one day be forgotten, but the effects of our actions, both good and bad, ripple far beyond our lifespans. Legacy is not built through grand monuments or global fame, but through the lives we touch, the values we uphold, and the love we give. A kind word that changes someone's day, a lesson that shapes a child's future, a courageous stand that inspires justice. These moments outlive us in the hearts and minds of others. When we understand that our lives may not continue in some celestial form, we begin to focus more intentionally on the mark we leave in this world. Legacy becomes our form of permanence, not in a supernatural realm, but in the memories we create, the contributions we make, and the humanity we pass forward. It motivates us to live with greater awareness, to choose significance over survival, to create a better world not because of what we gain from it, but because of what we offer to it. Our legacy becomes a silent echo that continues to shape lives long after we are gone, proving that even without eternal life, our existence can have eternal meaning. This is not a lesser form of immortality. It is a more grounded, more human one, rooted not in myth, but in real influence. We may not live forever in body or soul, but in legacy, we live on in ways that truly matter. So if there is no God, no paradise, no heaven, then let that not be a source of despair, but a call to rise. Let it awaken in us a deeper sense of urgency, of responsibility, and of purpose. Because what we do here, now, in this life, is what truly defines us. We do not need eternal reward to justify compassion, nor divine punishment to restrain our cruelty. We are capable of goodness for its own sake. We are builders of meaning, creators of peace, carriers of love, and that is more powerful than any promise of eternity. If heaven does not await us, then let us create it here. If no God will save us, then let us save one another. And if this life is all we have, then let us live it fully, courageously, and beautifully. For in doing so, we prove that the absence of the divine does not diminish our humanity. It reveals the very best of it.